Well, good morning, guys. Once again, it is I, the chairman, back with another review of physical media, and I wanted to wrap up my review of The Psychic, which I mentioned that I had bought. Finished watching it, and this is another film from Lucio Fulci, although it is not in the vein of his more well-known films in terms of being super gory. It's not like his zombie films like The Beyond and Zombie or New York Ripper. This is much more of a tense psychological thriller. And the story is that Jennifer O'Neill, she's the well-known American actress. She plays Virginia. She's just recently gotten married to a rich guy. And what happens is that she has vision. She can see, well, she doesn't realize that she can see the future, but she basically can. And so she sees these visions of a murder that may or may not have involved her husband. And so then she goes and tries to figure out exactly what happened. And, you know, you can pretty much figure out that it was the husband behind it, but it's just interesting how it all unfolds. And also this film was restored very well. It looks really good for a film of his era. About as good as you could expect, and they actually have a little featurette in the on the disc that shows the work that they had to do to restore it, to correct damage. Basically, there's like marks, distortions, bits of color on the frame itself, and how they were able to fix that and improve the look of this whole film, really a lot. So if you're more into the more lurid aspects of giallo films, with the blood and the gore and the nudity, this film might not be for you. But just let you know, if you're looking for something a bit more on just the tense, scary side, if Shameless ever has a sale again, The Psychic is definitely worth picking up. And it's also a really good example of what they're able to do in the physical media space as another one of these smaller, independent firms that are just putting out a lot of good work, with obviously much less manpower, much less resources than the larger houses and the larger studios are able to do. So yeah, that's The Psychic. So as it usually happens, just through a matter of timing, I got in a lot of stuff over the last couple days. So I got in from the Disney Movie Club. I got Free Guy, 4K, and then I was finally able to pick up Jojo Rabbit. And so Free Guy, it's just your basic Disney thing with the Ultimate Collector's Edition. I don't even know why they call it the Ultimate Collector's Edition, because it's not even Ultimate, nor is it a Collector's Edition. It's just a regular case, and inside you just get the card, Blu-ray in basic blue, and the 4K. At least they do put an actual picture on the 4K disc. And so that's that. And Jojo Rabbit is the same thing. Has the code and just the Blu-ray and the 4K discs. Like I said, at least the Blu-ray is a actual picture, and it's a better picture than what you have been getting with some of these Disney 4Ks. And then from Zavvi, they had a let me see, I think it was like a ended up basically a 2 for $32 deal, and I was finally able to get Godzilla vs. Kong on 4K. It had been up there for a while in terms of price, and so this is the you got the O card. I don't know if this is what we get here in the U.S., because this is obviously the British version, but it seems to be a somewhat nicer quality card than the U.S., because it's matte. It's not glossy, and then also these cases are thicker by a little bit. And so inside you throw in a little thing for just to kind of advertise the MonsterVerse. And the discs are on this flip out format and not on the just one on each side. So I don't know if this is what we get here in the U.S. because this case is not a standard case. It is a bit thicker. And then the other film I picked up, which came out I think earlier this year, was Blade, the 1998 film starring Wesley Snipes. Sorry, I just blanked on his name for whatever reason. Starring Wesley Snipes, which was the first in the Blade series. Now they're Marvel films, but at the time, Marvel didn't have the license. They had sold it off to Warner Brothers. So this is a Warner Brothers film. And in the same way, it's this fold out, but they don't have a code for this one, so I'm not sure why. And then I also got in from Indicator. Indicator had their recent 5th anniversary sale, so they had a lot of discs for £6.99, which came out to be like $11, $12. And so with shipping and all that, I think all these came out to be about like $13 total. So we got John Carpenter's Vampires. I remember seeing this film in the theater. And then so it's just a single disc. Excuse me. And then so this is the Anderson tapes, directed by Sidney Lumet and starring Sean Connery. And this one was, I don't know if this was like, if he did this at the same time or around the same time as Diamonds Are Forever or after, but I mean it's essentially a post-Bond film by Sean Connery, and he plays a guy named Anderson who gets released from prison and is going to get going on putting together a heist, but he's not aware that he's actually being filmed. So the whole thing of the movie, the whole plot is that he's trying to pull off this heist while not being caught again. And it also stars Diane Cannon, Martin Balsam, and Alan King. And this is another example of a film that I tell you that don't buy anything on pre-order, because I remember this came out early last year, 2020, and they were selling it for like, you know, the usual $25 or however much it was. Obviously, it's now dropped. I mean, these small films that come out from Indicator or from Kino, Warner Classics, they always put them out for pre-order, and there's no point. They'll never sell out, and the price will drop eventually, and you'll be able to get them on sale for cheap. So yeah, don't ever pre-order any of these smaller films, especially like from the smaller houses like Indicator, unless it's like a really well-known title or one that's been hyped up or is really anticipated for. Also got in The Big Heat, a classic Fritz Lang 1953 film noir starring Glenn Ford, Gloria Graham. I don't remember if I saw this one, if I actually ever saw this one, because I was on a bit of a film noir thing back in the 90s. So I watched a lot of film noir like Kiss Me Deadly and Touch of Evil and all of those good ones. And this, I may have watched this one, I just don't remember. But it is it is another of the classic 1950s era film noir. Oh, yeah, Double Indemnity, you know, films like that. And then also finally, Age of Consent, which I had watched before on streaming. It is available on streaming, but this is the 1969 Michael Powell directed film starring a very young Helen Mirren and James Mason. James Mason plays a painter who goes kind of goes off into exile, more or less, to just get himself back together, and he runs into Helen Mirren, and she kind of becomes his muse, and he paints her a lot. And this is, I don't know if this was, I don't think this was Helen Mirren's first film, but it was a very early film for her, and it's probably the first most well-known film in which she's nude a lot in. And obviously, you know, she's been one of the most famous A-list actresses who has gone nude a lot. She's by no means afraid to do that. and so this is like the first of like the first significant film in which he's nude a lot in. And what's interesting is that this is rated 15, and this film, Big Heat, is also rated 15. You're talking a 1953 film that couldn't possibly have had, you know, modern levels of violence or profanity or sex, is rated 15, but yet this film is also rated 15. So the British Ratings Board is kind of weird. I guess they figure that a 15-year-old is okay to handle nudity, but they're not okay to handle violence, which is, I don't know, I guess kind of the opposite as it is here. But one thing I did notice is that all these films are Columbia films, and Indicator, I guess, has gotten the license to a lot of Columbia films from Sony. And so I was just thinking as I got this in, that this seemed like a really random assortment of films that Indicator has, and then I just noticed, hey, these are all Columbia films. So that's one thing you'll notice, is that a lot of these smaller houses, they have licensed films primarily from one or two of the major studios. Like if they have major studio films, then it'll be like Indicator with Columbia, and you'll see a lot of MGM films on 88 from 88. MGM films are kind of all over the place. Like the smaller studios, I mean, like smaller than Disney or Universal, or well, actually even Universal to an extent. You will see some Universal films that have been licensed out. Like Arrow does some Universal films. Pretty much the only ones you'll rarely, if ever, see licensed out to a smaller house is Warner's and Disney. You'll still see them, but just much more rarely than Columbia, MGM, and who else? Yeah. I think Columbia and MGM are pretty much the ones that you'll see licensed out a lot. Oh, and Universal. So yeah. So anyway, I got a whole bunch of stuff in, and just gonna go through that. And I'm watching Nighthawks right now, that I got in from Shout. So right now it's looking, I mean, quality-wise, it's not great. It's definitely not not a 4K scan as far as I can tell. It might not even be a 2K scan of the negative. It kind of looks like it's like a interpositive or even from a print. There's no information to indicate it, but it just doesn't look as good. But it's a nice little nostalgic romp. So once I'm done with that, I will let you know how that's going. And until then, enjoy that physical media, and I'll talk to you later. See you. Oh, forgot to mention one last thing. Severin were offering the European version of Jack the Ripper from 1959 on just a little card, the Blu-ray, and they were selling it for $5, so it was definitely worth getting. Call it a schnäppchen, if you will. But the idea is that this is the European version, so it's, I don't know if it's totally uncut, but it's definitely way more uncut than the versions that were seen in the U.S. So for a 1959 film, apparently it has a lot of violence and nudity in it, so I'm definitely going to give it a look, because you usually don't expect films from that time to have you know, more modern levels of what you would call excessiveness, if you will. But it's a Jack the Ripper film, so if it doesn't have that, then why call it Jack the Ripper, or why even make a Jack the Ripper film? So definitely looking forward to giving this a watch. And I think you can still get this, according to the last email from Severin. So if you're on the lookout for just weird, offbeat, less well-known horror, and if you're a Severin fan, see if you can get this, because it's only $5, and it'll be $5 shipping, but it's still $10. You know, it's still way less than what you'd pay if it was in a case. And in this case, you know, I don't really need it. So you just get the film itself, and yeah, we'll see how it is. So anyway, just wanted to add that, and I'll talk to you later.